Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television. We are live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. The federal government has warned states and local governments to steer clear of the collection of royalties and taxes from licensed miners operating in their domains. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, who gave the warning in Kaduna, also stated that miners and operators owe the federal government more than 2 trillion naira, calling on them to pay the debt. He said operators must pay on a monthly basis royalties and taxes to the federal government, adding that the administration of President Bola Tinubu was determined to halt the activities of illegal miners across the country. President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Aliko Dangote, President and Chief Executive Officer of Dangote Group, on the award of the National Order of the Lion by President Macky Sall of Senegal. The President, in a statement by his spokesman, Adjuri Ngelale, applauded the industrialist for his enterprise and ingenuity, creating jobs and opportunities for many in Nigeria and across West Africa, as well as contributing to their economies. President Tinubu also wished him the very best in his endeavors. Now, low voter turnout is characterized the ongoing by-election in the Guma, one state constituency of Benue State. Voting commenced at exactly 8:30 a.m. at the Ali Agudu polling unit in Daudu, which is populated by internally displaced persons. Speaking to journalists, the state resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Benue State, Professor Samuel Egu, applauded the peaceful conduct of the election despite low voter turnout. And despite repeated assurances by the Independent National Electoral Commission of its readiness to conduct today's rerun election, as of 10:30 a.m., materials were yet to arrive in several affected polling units in Enugu State. On Friday, INEC said it was 95% ready to conduct a hitch-free rerun elections in 2 constituencies within Enugu State, as ordered by the Court of Appeal. The state's resident electoral commissioner, Chukwuemeka Chukwu, told journalists on Friday in Enugu that the commission had deployed over 700 staff and ad hoc staff, as well as 700 armed security men for the rerun. However, in several polling units in Igboeze North and Udenu rerun elections for the federal constituency, INEC officials arrived at about 10:20 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. respectively. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, said it was investigating election disruptions that occurred during the rerun and by-elections in Enugu, Akwa Ibom, and Kano State. The Commission disclosed this via its X handle on Saturday. The rerun elections are currently holding across 26 states in the country. The elections are holding in 80 local government areas across 575 registration areas and 8,934 polling units. The 26 states include Ebonyi, Yobe, Kebbi, Lagos, Ondo, Taraba, Benue, Borno, Kaduna, Plateau, Akwa Ibom State, Anambra, Cross River, Delta, Enugu, Jigawa, Katsina, Adamawa, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Kano, Nasarawa, Niger, Oyo, Sokoto, and Zamfara State, respectively. Now, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Heineken Lokbobiri, has confirmed that negotiations are on to finally end the dispute surrounding OML 245 for the block to resume production in the national interest. Lokbobiri disclosed this in Abuja as he revealed that parties in the deal are currently negotiating to end the over 28 years crisis and litigation surrounding the prolific oil block in the next 1 month. Kike Lomo Okere has details.
In the light of recent discussion and misconceptions surrounding the resolution of issues surrounding OML 245, the Minister of State for Petroleum has offered clarity and dispel any misinformation that might have risen. It says the OML 245 is a significant oil block within the nation's territory, which has been subject to various litigation and discussions across different jurisdictions. It says the core issue resolved around the agreement between the federal government, Shell and ENI, wherein the federal government facilitated the transfer of rights from Malabo to Shell ENI in exchange for consideration. This process was conducted transparently in accordance with established legal frameworks.
And this block has been like that.
The minister reveals that throughout the legal proceedings, there has been no evidence indicating any criminal liability on the part of the federal government or any involved parties. All legal battles across multiple courts have concluded with outcome affirming the absence of criminal wrongdoing.
And so when they say mounted pressure, I didn't mount pressure on anybody, but it is important that we resolve the problems. What is the problem among the parties about OML 245? We took ENI and other people, including Malabo and others, to courts in different countries. Like I said earlier, in Canada, in Milan, in the UK, in Switzerland. We lost all because there's no evidence to prove any case of corruption. And this block has been like that for the past 28 years. All of us, I'm sure, graduated before we're 28. So how can you have one block that could actually change the life of Nigerians? A very prolific block. That has been tied down for 28 years. What are the issues? Even if we continue with all the cases, the ones we had, he had no evidence. And so he lost all. And all these things happened within the last administration. And even if you guys get hold of, the book written by Malami, he himself said we were wrong. The idea of taking these things to different courts was wrong, but there's no evidence. Even the one here, no evidence. So what we're trying to do is to see how we can discuss, resolve all the issues, so that all matters could be resolved, so that we can get the investment in Nigeria.
On the complexity surrounding the OML 245, the minister says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has demonstrated astute leadership by directing efforts towards resolving the lingering issue. Meetings and discussions have been convened with stakeholders from various countries, including Netherlands, the UK, and Milan, to explore avenues for an amicable resolution. With just a 5% reserve investment ratio in the oil sector, which is the lowest globally in the last 5 years, the minister says there is an urgent need to boost the investment in the sector to avert an imminent economic crisis.
If you go to Brazil, it's 115%. If you go to Mozambique in Africa, it's 92%. If you go to Angola, it's 46%. If you come to Nigeria, 5%. If we do not do whatever we can to attract investments, the crude oil deficit we have here will be a souvenir not seen by you and I, that will translate to nothing in the next few years. And so my responsibility is to ensure that we do whatever we can, resolve whatever problems we have in the industry, so that we can attract sufficient investment to change the narrative. If we resolve the issues around OML 245, it will attract investment between $5 to $10 billion. It will change the story. So anytime somebody wants to invest, when we go for canvas, when we go to canvas for investment, people will say, oh, Nigeria is not attracting investment. This is psychology.
It further stressed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's interest lies on the transformation of the vast natural resources into prosperity for the nation. It therefore urged citizens to remain patriotic and continue to build faith in the renewed Hope administration, as the President has supported the resolution of all issues around OML 245. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, has commended Governor Mai Bala Buni of Yobe for establishing 140 primary healthcare centers across the state. The NUJ chairman, Yobe State Council, Rajab Mohammed Ismail, gave the commendation while briefing newsmen in Damaturu after a media tour across the state. He said the tour afforded NUJ members the opportunity to see efforts of the state and local government councils towards improving the lives of the people in health, education, infrastructure, and job creation. He said the 140 primary healthcare centers established by Buni's administration have brought effective and efficient healthcare services to the people, particularly those at the grassroots. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Ali Pati, has expressed the federal government's commitment to promoting a life-saving initiative intended to improve quality maternal health outcomes. The minister, who disclosed this at a press briefing in Abuja, said based on the 2020 World Health Organization's recommendations on antenatal care for positive pregnancy experience, the federal government has adopted the use of multiple micronutrient supplements, also called MMS, during pregnancy to improve maternal health. The minister said the inclusion of MMS for pregnant women in the national guidelines for the prevention and control of micronutrient deficiencies control in Nigeria is geared towards improving pregnancy outcomes compared to iron folic acid supplementation. Now, the Anambra State government has banned the public display of caskets for fabrication and sale in the state. This was contained in a law passed by the State House of Assembly on control burial and funeral activities in the state. By implication, all mortuary attendants are to report to the Ministry of Health and any corpse that has stayed beyond 1 month from the date it was deposited. He warned that any person who contravenes the provisions will be fined 100,000 naira as 6 months or 6 months imprisonment or both. After a prolonged land dispute which lasted 10 years, Governor Seyi Makinde-led administration has ordered the reopening of 23 schools in 4 local government areas of Oyo State. The reopening of the schools followed an intervention by the Deputy Governor of the state, Bayo Lawal. The affected local government areas are Atiba, Fijio, Oyo East and Oyo West local government areas of the state. The Deputy Governor equally stated that the Ministry of Education will oversee the schools upon reopening. Now, Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has revealed that the EFCC is investigating the former minister and his predecessor, Hadi Sirika, over the controversial Nigeria Air deal. Keyamo said no local airline would be designated as a national airline, stressing that it would establish a proper national career. Last August, shortly after he was sworn in as minister, Keyamo faulted the deal by Sirika and suspended the entire arrangements to enable a proper audit of contracts. The controversy surrounding the establishment of Nigeria's national carrier, Nigerian Air, had forced veteran aviator Germa Wake to resign as chairman of Ethiopia Airlines. You're watching News Cycle, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. When News Cycle returns, federal government raises exchange rates for cargo clearance to 1,356 naira to the dollar. The news continues shortly with details of this and more stories right after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, if you've just joined us, this is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of the news cycle. On the foreign scene, former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak's 12-year jail sentence for corruption has been halved by the country's Pardons Board. Najib was jailed in 2022 over the embezzlement of Malaysia's state-owned wealth fund, Development Berhad. The board also reduced the fine imposed on him to 50 million ringgit from the original 210 million ringgit. Najib must pay this in full to secure his release in August 2028. If he fails to pay, his sentence will be extended for another year until 2029. He was convicted in 2020 after spending 2 years appealing his conviction before the courts. Now let's turn to business. There are strong indications that the federal government is mulling a policy that will result in the conversion of foreign currencies in domiciliary accounts of citizens to Naira to stabilize the national currency, which earlier this week recorded its worst performance in history. If it goes ahead with the plan, the government will order the conversion of foreign currencies sitting idly in individuals and corporate organizations' domiciliary accounts to Naira at a rate to be determined by the Central Bank of Nigeria. According to top presidency sources, the move is meant to stabilize the Naira, which recorded its biggest fall in the official Nigerian foreign exchange market on Monday, depreciating by 24% to close at 1,348 Naira per dollar. Now let's turn to Kike Lomo Okere for more updates in business.
Speaking with journalists after the hurried meeting held behind closed doors, Senator Abiru says the state of the economy, especially the inflation index, is of great concern to the lawmakers. Senator Abiru added that they have deliberated among themselves and critical issues has been addressed, and they believe that the next line of action is to summon the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria on Tuesday at 3 o'clock to brief the Senate properly on the state of the economy. He added that they are resolved and will communicate to the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, after which they will have further communication with the member of the press.
Lining the major issue of the economy is the way the inflation index has been, and of course, it's of major concern to us. Now, we have deliberated amongst ourselves, the critical issues were addressed, and we believe that the next line of action is to bring in someone, the Governor of Central Bank, on Tuesday at 3 o'clock to come and brief us properly on the state of the economy. That we have resolved and communicate to the Governor of the Central Bank, after which we now have a further conversation with members of the press.
Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News. Hello and welcome to Business Report on Prime News. The federal government, in collaboration with African Development Bank, has concluded plans to roll out a $617 million IDs fund for the digital technology and creative industry. The hint was given by Minister of Arts, Culture and Creative Economy, Ahanato Musawa, at a high-level meeting with the Director General of AFDB, Lamin Barrow, in Abuja. She highlighted the huge potential of the creative economy to generate employment opportunities for millions of young Nigerians. The minister says the IDs fund emerges as a landmark transaction, providing a strategic platform for directing additional long-term financing into the dynamic sector. The minister, however, commended AFDB and other parties to the transaction for the remarkable achievement now being emulated by other African nations. She applauded the impact investment focus, which include elements such as geographical spread, first loss position of the federal government, and grant for capacity development, stressing that our ministry will reflect this spirit in the nationwide awareness campaign on the initiative. Minister Musawa highlighted that the ID structure offers a platform through which the fundraising initiative of our ministry can be secured, and assured that this opportunity will be thoroughly explored. A delegation from the International Monetary Fund was in Egypt to engage in talks that may surpass $10 billion in assistance for the Egyptian government. As the IMF were in talk with the Egyptian government, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Egyptian Central Bank also hiked the country's benchmark interest rate by 200 basis points to 22.25% for lending and 21.25% for deposits, a move that surprised economic analysts and it targets at dropping the country's inflation rate of 34%. The proposed $10 billion arrangement is an increase from the 46-month $3 billion extended fund facility the IMF had approved the Egypt in December 2022. As part of the EFF, the Egyptian government is expected to shift a flexible exchange rate regime as well as craft monetary policies to drop its inflation rate. Part of the condition for the $3 billion IMF loan include raising Egypt's net international reserve to $6 billion by June 2023 and floating the Egypt pound exchange rate. However, the second tranche of the loan worth $354 million has been paused as the country failed to implement the agreed condition. Oil price saw a decline of over 2% due to unverified reports of a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, coupled with a significant U.S. refinery shutting down due to a power outage. Despite assertion from a Qatari official denying the existence of a ceasefire, it was reiterated that Hamas had responded positively to a ceasefire proposal put forth earlier in the week. Brent crude futures fell by $1.85, equivalent to 2.5%, settling at $78.70 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude future decreased by $2.03, marking a 2.7% drop to $73.82. In recent times, heightened tension in the Middle East have led to an increase in oil prices. Persistent attack by the Yemen-based Houthi forces on vessels navigating the Red Sea have resulted in the elevated cost and disturbance in global oil trading. Additionally, the Houthi group has affirmed its intention to continue targeting U.S. and British warships, describing the action as act of self-defense. As of November, OPEC has implemented voluntary oil production cuts amounting to 2.2 million barrels per day, geared towards showing up oil prices. Earlier trading saw an increase in oil price following Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's announcement. Powell stated that interest rates has reached their peak and were expected to decline in the coming months. He also mentioned a downturn trend in inflation and anticipated sustained economic growth. Nigerian Customs Service have increased the exchange rate for the clearance of goods by 42.7% from 951 naira to $1 to 1,356 naira to $1. A review of the federal government single window trade portal of the Customs Service revealed that the previous exchange rate of 951 naira to $1 has been revised upward to 1,356 naira. The Nigerian Customs Service levied duties on imported cargoes before they are cleared from the port. These charges vary from 5% to 35% based on the harmonized commodity and coding system. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
And that's it on News Cycle, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.